Hey everybody, welcome back to Gideon Stuff and welcome to another discussion video. Are we centered up here? Maybe, kind of, sort of, I can't tell. Do you like the new backdrop? This might be the last time you see this exact same backdrop. I'm actually moving to a new place here in a couple of weeks. So life's going to be a little bit up in the air for a while. But what else is new with me, right? My life is always up in the air. But this is a big geologic map of New Mexico that I've had for a while. I used to have it hanging over there. I had it hanging over there for a little bit. It's hard to keep on the walls. This thing just falls down all the time. So I added it to my educational traveling collection. And when I go and do lectures at like community centers or things like that, I take this with me. But I really want to get up on the wall. I think it does make it for a great backdrop. Especially for like my adventure videos, I think this would be really, really fitting. Speaking of adventure videos, let's see, last week, by the time you're seeing this, I should have uploaded a video about an adventure down here in the Guadalupes. I am currently working on a video from up here, the Llano Estacado. I've got another video I'm working on from here. Of course, we've done videos in here, and here. I've got a couple coming up from over here. I've done some down in here. Here's where I am currently. And then way up there at the top is where I'm originally from. I don't know. I like this map. It's awesome. It, I don't know, fits the vibe that I want to share on this channel, I guess. Plus, I'm just proud New Mexican. Anyways, we're wasting time. But what else is new? This is a Gideon Stuff channel. You guys know that we like to ramble and waste time here. But let's go ahead and get on to today's topic of discussion. It's not going to be a long discussion, I don't think. But it is something that I've been thinking about a lot. Are there too many good knives out there today? Seems like a weird question to ask, but I think it's an important one, and I think the answer is yes. Now, that might sound weird. How can you have too much of a good thing very easily? Have you ever heard of drowning? Like, you need water to live, but, you got to be careful with it. I think we've reached a point in the knife industry where almost everything that's getting put out there is good. Like probably 95% of everything is competently made. Now there's going to be, differences in terms of, aesthetic preferences. There's going to be differences in terms of, oh, this knife isn't meant for this kind of task, so it's not good for that. But by and large, I think most companies have figured out how to make a knife. And that's kind of what I want to talk about today, is how that's left me feeling a little bit weird. And I think that the knife community, not the knife community, the knife industry, this has nothing to do with the EDC community, but the knife industry is in a really weird place and maybe not a great place. Now, from the perspective of like a first-time knife buyer, this is great because if you go online and you just buy any random CJRB, Kaiser, Cevivi, Best Tech, whatever, there's a very high probability that you're going to be getting a good knife, a competently made knife that's going to serve you very well for several years until you replace it or move on or something like that. That's great, right? Getting good tools to people is important, and I think that's really, really awesome. I think this is kind of more a problem for maybe not even the collectors really, because for collectors too, having an infinite supply of well-made knives isn't a bad thing at all, right? Like you just choose ones that appeal to you aesthetically and that's what you buy and you collect. But for me as a reviewer, I'm finding the new environment of the modern knife industry to be kind of weird and not necessarily bad. I've been throwing around the term bad. I don't think that's the right word to use. Boring might be a better word. Boring. It has been a while since I reviewed a knife that I thought had serious issues, at least from any mainstream type of brand, other than Gerber. I would consider Gerber a mainstream brand, and a lot of stuff I review from them is crap. But not everything. In fact, actually, by the time you're seeing yesterday's video was about Gerber, that was completely fine. And I've actually started going back and reviewing knives that I've had for years and didn't review because I thought it just wasn't worth reviewing, or this, that, and the other for whatever reasons. And I'm reviewing them now. And that's been really fun for me because whenever I see Cevivi or Kaiser drop a new batch of knives, they've got new releases constantly, right? I can look through the catalog pictures and basically know already how every single knife is going to feel, right? Because I know what Kaisers feel like. I know what Cevivis feel like. They've gotten to a point where they have mastered the art of making their budget knives or their premium knives, whatever it is. They know how to make it. And so basically, a lot of knives are starting to feel like the same knife in a different shape, right? These companies have figured out how to build a knife, and they're giving you a knife that is built competently. There's, if you buy a knife from any of the major Chinese brands, we'll talk about American-made brands here in a little bit, but if you buy a knife from any of the major Chinese brands, you can pretty much expect that the action is going to be good. It's going to be sharpened well enough out of the factory, maybe not perfectly, but well enough. It's going to cut well enough, right? Some knives are going to be a little bit sliced in the nose, but basically it's going to cut good. And you're not going to have screws falling out. You're not going to have detent lash or blade play or lock rock, or you can kind of assume that that's the way that these are going to be. Now, of course, there are lemons, right? There's accents that happen in production, but again, we're into a point where 95% of everything is good. And as a reviewer, it makes reviewing knives boring. If I know that every single knife is going to be good, like if people ask me for knife recommendations, instead of having a collection of knives in my head where I can be like, okay, are you wanting a knife for this task, or that task? Oh, this task? Okay, then I recommend XYZ. Those are probably the best that you could. Nowadays, if someone asks me for a knife recommendation, I can say, I find myself saying stuff like, check out Cevivi. Right? Like go get a Cevivi or something like that. Which is kind of boring, right? I watched a video the other day by Cedric Caneda. Pete over there he made a video about the CGRB Hector, and he's talking about how it's just a perfectly fine knife. And he's talking about a little bit about burnout and how everything is good. And this is a topic that I've touched on before on the channel, but he made some really, really excellent, observations that I thought were worth chiming in on, I guess. Because he's absolutely right. Knives are just getting good. I have not bought, I have not ordered a Cevivi Kaiser CGRB knife in, I think the last knife I bought was a cold steel click and cut at Tractor Supply a couple of weeks ago. But the last knife I bought before that, I think it was my CGRB Shale, and that was back in November. It's been a long time since I've ordered a knife or anything. And that's because I've been busy and I don't have money to throw around on knives all the time. And I've also been incredibly blessed that people have been sending me a lot of knives to review that I've been working my way through. But the other thing is that a lot of these knives just aren't that interesting to me. They're not that compelling. I can look at a picture and I can immediately know exactly how that knife feels in my hand. and it's going to feel pretty good. Now, there's some knives that, to this day, I think are, excellent in their category. Some knives that excel. The CJRB Shale is one of those knives. I think that's an excellent, excellent knife. I think it does kind of, punch above its weight class. But it's getting harder for me to get excited about new knife releases because they're gonna be decently good. Now, I do still get excited about some knives. The upcoming Cevivi Snex design, I can't remember what it's called, the Buster FX or whatever it is. I'm very excited about that. I will probably be getting one of those. But I really, like the other day, I sat down and I was actually going to order one of the new CJRB what is it? The one that looks like the Vosti Nightshade, the sachet, I can't remember what it's called. But I was going to sit down and order one of those. I think that's a good looking knife. I might get one of these days. I do like CJRB a lot. That knife is, aesthetically pleasing to me. So I might get one of those here pretty soon. But I didn't pull the trigger on it because I just kind of realized, I'm going to open this. I'm going to know before I get it in hand basically what it's going to feel like. And I just kind of lost some motivation to take a look at it, which is not good for a knife reviewer, right? Now, I have been carrying and using the TRM Titanium Bulldog for a long, long time. I've been carrying this for the past couple of months. I absolutely love this knife. TRM sent me this knife, and I started thinking to myself, maybe I'm just becoming jaded, right? I mean, this is a $400 knife. It feels very premium. It feels very expensive. This is definitely a different class of knife than something like, your CJRB Pyrite type of thing. This is American made, small batch, more premium materials. There's definitely a difference between these two. And so I thought to myself, maybe that's what the difference is. Maybe I'm just becoming uppity and snooty and I only like, expensive fancy knives now. And I weighed this possibility in my mind. That could very well be a possibility. But then something else happened. My buddy Zach sent some knives to the channel. One of them was this TKL Knives Accomplice. I've been carrying this a lot. Been enjoying this knife. This is an American-made, mid-tech knife. Very, very premium. It's got a fairly hefty price tag on it. Very, very cool knife. But he also sent this knife here. This is the Off Grid Knives Sidekick. And I absolutely freaking love this knife. This is my favorite knife I unboxed from that package that he sent me. I have been taking this knife with me everywhere. Hiking, climbing, camping. This has been on my belt. I absolutely freaking love this knife. This is a foreign-made budget knife. This is like a $50 knife. And I prefer it to this $200 knife. And so I realized, okay, so it's not that I'm just becoming, a fancy boy or something like that. There's something else. There's something else that's missing from knives that I haven't felt in a while. I got burned out on the knife world a few months ago too. I was just really kind of done. And then I had a knife sent to me that completely changed my perspective. And that was the Aurora Truffles. I freaking love this knife. This knife made me love knives again. Why? Because it was doing something a little bit different. Yeah, it had the new lock here. It's, kind of a unique looking knife. It's got some innovation. And I thought all of that was what made me excited about this knife. I have started to kind of realize that it's not necessarily the innovation or the design that made me like this knife so much. It's the fact that this knife has a soul. It has personality. It's got character to it, right? I know the guy who designed this. I know the guy that runs Truffles. Mike and I, we've known each other for many, many years. He's a good guy. I consider him a friend. We don't talk every day. I don't talk to a lot of people every day. He's a good guy. I saw this company grow, right? I knew him before he was Aurora Knife and Tools. I knew him back when he was Misford Knife Reviews. That story adds a lot to this knife. Now, the knife itself, aside from all that, is a really, really darn good knife, but being able to, I guess, follow along with Mike on that journey and see how he got from Misheard Knife Reviews to this gives this knife a special meaning to me. And besides that, Mike is one dude, you know, who's running his little program. I'm sure it's not just him, but bear with me. And he's putting a lot of himself into these knife designs, right? He obviously cares about what he's doing. He cares about Aurora Knife and Tools. And you can feel that. That is why the TRM Bulldog feels so good. That's why I love this knife so much. Yeah, it's a good knife. This is one of the most comfortable folding knives I've ever held. You guys will be seeing a review for this coming out soon. It cuts well. This is a knife that if you told me tomorrow that I could only ever carry one folding knife for the rest of my life, I might pick this one. I freaking love this knife. Yes, it's a good knife. It's an expensive knife. It's got premium materials. But those facts alone aren't what make me love this knife. What I love about this knife is that TRM is a cool company. They're doing interesting things. They're not just vomiting out a dozen knife designs a year because they can. They care about making cool knives. The way that they have interacted with the community when it comes to their scales and the swappability and the customization with their products is incredible. I'm a tiny little channel, and TRM has reached out to me twice to send me knives to take a look at. I talked to them at Blade Show. They are good, solid, they're just good people, right? That comes through in their knives. Even if I had never, ever talked to TRM people, even if they had never sent me this knife, if I just went out and bought this on my own, I still would have gotten that feeling of personality from this knife because the people who make it care, and it shows in their products. And that, I think, is the difference, right? A lot of these companies are just shooting out so many knives that it's hard to pick any of them out. It's very rare that a knife stands out with personality. That Cevivi knife that I mentioned earlier is one of the few Cevivis that has kind of like stood out. And it has personality because it's got a personality behind it, right? Now, this is not, again, this is not something that's like USA versus Chinese made, right? This knife is being OEM'd in China, right? That's not what this is about. What this is about is that there is more that goes into my personal enjoyment of a knife than whether or not it's a good tool, right? Or whether or not it is built well. And that is something that I have really been trying to focus on more with the channel, is finding knives that I want to review. You know, back in the early days of the channel, if I had a crappy knife that was just terrible, I didn't review it because I was like, no one wants to see this. Like, I don't really want to review a crappy knife. Nowadays, I kind of wish that I had more crappy knives because it would make the content feel a little more varied, right? I've really been enjoying reviewing a lot of the fixed blades I've been reviewing recently because, I mean, I've been reviewing Chinese-made fixed blades. I've been reviewing some, mid-tech USA-made fixed blades. There's been a lot of variety and a lot of different flavors to experience, and I've really enjoyed that. When it comes to folding knives, there are still a lot of folding knives that I do enjoy, that I do love. There are knives that I love that I would not say have the most personality. The CJRB Pyrite Light. I love this knife. I love CJRB as a company, right? I've talked to their people several times. They're great people. But this doesn't have the same character as that TRM. Now, I love this knife. I can recommend this knife all the time. I like CJRB a lot. I have a lot of CJRBs. I plan on buying some more. You know, if they speak to me aesthetically, I will probably buy some more. But it's really I've got to be in the mood for it, right? Some knives just don't give me that zing. It used to be, you saw a new knife released, and I would get excited about, like, okay, it looks pretty cool, but is it good? And I would watch other YouTubers talk about it. When I started my channel, I would love to get a knife, you know, mess around with it and be like, okay, this knife looked amazing when I first heard about it, but is it actually? And sometimes it'd be like, yeah, you know, it's a good knife, but it's got a couple flaws. The pocket clip sucks, or, oh, the access to lock bar kind of sucks. You know, it's got some, you know, blade play, blah, 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 blah. And there are still those issues out there, don't get me wrong. But it's becoming, it's like looking for a diamond in a sea of diamonds, right? When the Cevivi Praxis was released, there were not very many good knives in this price tier. Nowadays there are, right? There are so many good knives that you can get for 40 bucks. Look at this knife. This is a knife that I got for $15 at a Home Depot. This is made by Crescent. Excellent pocket clip. It's running on bearings. It's got good enough action. Not premium materials. This is a fine knife. This Craftsman knife, it's got a compression lock. This is a very cool knife. 15 bucks at Home Depot or Lowe's or wherever it is I picked this up, right? Good knives are becoming more common. And so in order for your knife to stand out and make a splash, in my opinion, it's got to be more than competently made. It's got to have personality. It's got to feel different. And there's a lot of ways that you can give your knife personality. You can have it designed by a designer with a very specific design language. You can have a knife that has a brand new feature, maybe a new lock, maybe a new material, something like that. Like, that makes things interesting. How about a knife that just has a cool story behind it, right? Maybe it's a knife that was, I don't know, named from comments on an Instagram post, something like that. Like, it doesn't take much to give a knife a little bit of personality. But for me, that is what I've come down to when it comes to interacting with the knife world. Like, there are going to be a lot of knives I never experience, I never show on the channel, because I don't want to. Because frankly, I just can't be bothered, because I already know what I'm going to say, right? Most Cevivis cut very well. They're built very well. And the action is exactly what you would expect. Cut, copy, paste, right? So unless a knife really speaks to me, it is never going to be shown on the channel, right? And that is not the way that the channel used to run. There were times where there was a knife that didn't necessarily speak to me, but maybe it was popular with other people. So I go out of my way to buy it and give you guys my thoughts on it, right? Sometimes there's knives that didn't personally appeal to me, but were interesting in the fact that, you know, I haven't seen that, or like, I don't have a knife like that in my collection yet. Maybe I'll get that and review it and see what I think. But nowadays it's got to the point where everything is so similar, so homogenous, that I am just going to save my comments for the knives that speak to me, right? And I'm going to keep looking for trash knives to share with you guys, because you know, cheap knife week must continue. But this video turned into a longer discussion than I was planning. Whoop-de-doo, who's surprised? Big shout out to my channel members right here at the Cowboy level. I appreciate everything they do for the channel. If you want to become a member and get access to exclusive perks, there's a button down below where you can join. That's going to be it for me today, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I've been Gideon, and I'll see you in the next one. Adios.